Iran is a large, multi-ethnic, multilingual country with over 92 million people. It's been in the news a lot lately, but there's still a lot of misunderstanding about how diverse and complex it is. Today we'll be discussing the Turkic languages spoken in Iran. One thing to note is that Iran does not keep great statistics in terms of language or ethnicity, and this is not uncommon. It does mean that I've had to consult a ton of outside sources to create this video. I've included a full bibliography in this video's description. It's also worth noting that much of the data on Iran's ethnic and linguistic makeup is quite old, so please take that into consideration. Often when we think of countries outside of the Americas, we think of them as being monolithic, one nation, one ethnic group, one language, one religion. From a linguistic perspective, this is an example of a linguistic ideology. And when we embrace this kind of ideology, the world becomes oversimplified and a lot less interesting. Iran is no exception. Although Iran, or rather the region that is currently the country of Iran, has been dominated by ethnic Iranians for over 2,600 years, its central location along trade routes between China, India, Africa, and Europe means that many peoples have passed through, and in many cases they've ended up staying. So the largest non-Iranian or Persian group in Iran is the Azerbaijanis, and they speak a Turkic language. Speakers of Turkic languages likely came to Iran in large numbers during the Karakanid Khanate, which ruled much of Central Asia from 840 to 1212. So now this Khanate never actually conquered the core of Iran, but it certainly butted up against the territory, and it was certainly highly influenced by Iranian culture. Even more Turkic peoples came into Iran when the Mongols conquered Iran and the surrounding areas in the early 13th century. The Mongol Empire was always multi-ethnic, and Turkic peoples were a major ethnic component of this empire. After Genghis Khan and his Mongol invasion, there were a succession of non-Iranian groups that ruled Iran, and this started with the Ilkhanate. The Ilkhanate was ruled by Genghis Khan's son, Hulagu. After the Ilkhanate dissolved, it was followed by a number of warring states that were ultimately conquered by the Timurid dynasty in the year 1370. This dynasty was of Mongol origin, but the ruling elite spoke Chagatai, which is a Turkic language that's ancestral to modern-day Uzbek and Uyghur. By the 15th century, Iran came under control of the Kar Koyunlu, and then in rapid succession the Ak Koyunlu, and both of these groups spoke a Turkic language that's pretty similar to modern-day Azerbaijani. So in modern Iran, about 65% of the country is ethnically Iranian or Persian, and members of minority groups nearly always speak Farsi, which is the Persian language, in addition to their native languages, of course. The next largest group in Iran is the Azerbaijanis, also called the Azeris, and they form about 13% of the population, although there are estimates that place this number as high as 24%. So regardless of exactly how many Azeris there are in Iran, there are certainly more Azeris in Iran than in Azerbaijan. These Azeris, or Azerbaijanis, predictably mostly reside in the northern provinces of Iran that border Azerbaijan, as well as provinces that border Armenia, Turkey, and northern Iraq. Within this larger group, there are tons of tribal and ethnic subdivisions, and many of these subdivisions speak varieties that are quite different from the standard Azerbaijani of Iran. This is based on the dialect spoken in Tabriz. One notable variety is Somkore, which has a lot more in common with the Turkic varieties spoken in the south of Iran. So nearly all Turkic languages of Iran belong to the Oghuz group of languages, and this includes Turkish and Turkmen as well. There's a pretty high degree of intelligibility between all of these different languages and dialects that belong to this Oghuz group, and the Turkic languages of Iran form a bridge from Turkey and Turkmenistan. So that means that there's something of a dialect continuum that extends from Istanbul all the way to Ashgabat, with Iran in the middle. It also means that it can be really difficult to draw defining lines to separate these, varieties into distinct languages or dialects. So within this Oghuz group, Turkish and its closest relatives, they form the western branch, while Turkmen forms the eastern branch. Meanwhile, Azerbaijani and its closest relatives form the central branch. If we move south, we find that there's a number of nomadic tribes that speak varieties of the southern branch of the Oghuz family. The most numerous of these tribes is the Qashqai, and they mostly live in Fars province. The Qashqai represent the southernmost grouping of Turkic-speaking people, as their traditional territory nearly borders the Persian Gulf. And then to the east of the Qashqai are a poorly documented group called the Enalu, and they speak a language that's very similar to Qashqai. Throughout the entire territory of Iran, especially in the south of Iran, there are a variety of other small groups that speak similar languages. And these groups are often called Afshars. This is named for the Afshar dynasty, which is one of the many, many groups that ruled Iran at various points. If we go to northeastern Iran, in the provinces that are traditionally called Khorasan, there are other Turkic speakers. So this region borders Turkmenistan, and all along this border we find speakers of Turkmen, probably around 500,000. And then deeper inside Iran, but still within the Khorasan provinces, there's a number of small groups who are called the Khorasani Turks. Their language has a lot in common with Turkmen, but it's distinct enough that it's usually placed within a northern branch of the Oghuz languages. So the odd one out in Iran is Chaladsch. Chaladsch is spoken by at least 10,000 people in central Iran, and it's spoken just southwest of the city of Qom. The Chaladsch people and their language have been investigated a few times in the distant past, but it wasn't until the late 1960s that a German expedition led by Gerhard Doerfer established that Chaladsch is not only a distinct language from Azeri and the surrounding languages, but that it's so different that it forms its own branch of the Turkic language family. So, for example, in Azeri and in the other Turkic languages of Iran, the word for foot is ayak. In Chaladsch, this is hadak. So this D sound in the middle of the word is retained from Old Turkic, and the only other place it's preserved is in Tuvan, which is spoken near the border of Mongolia, Russia, and China. Because Chaladsch is such an unusual language, it's essential for understanding the history of the Turkic languages. If you read through the various reports on Iran's ethnic and linguistic groups from the 1960s and 1970s, you'll encounter some cryptic references to speakers of Chagatai or Kazakh or some other language, but there have never been any formal expeditions to visit the territories that these people supposedly lived in. So we don't even know if they exist. We're just, going off of rumor. Carleton University in Canada is conducting an in-depth survey of the languages of Iran, and they're assembling an atlas. It's online, and there's a link in the description. They've already identified a few unique dialects, and they'll hopefully identify even more. It's unclear how the ongoing war between Iran and the United States and Israel will affect their efforts, and it's also unclear how this has affected the minority groups of Iran.